What's up, guys, and welcome to the sixth update for Floors of Discomfort. My name is Frankie, and this update is going to be all about the new characters that have been added to this game. So, this last month has been focused mainly on creating the 5 characters that are going to be playable in this game. And I'll get to that in a second. But first, I'd like to get to something that was supposed to be done a long time ago, but I finally got around to it this month, and that is the options menu. And here it is. It's nothing crazy. We got the sound bar, and we got the music bar, and we got a full screen toggle. But yeah, I'm gonna add a resolution slider as well, but for now, this works. So that's that. I should have gotten that done a long time ago, but finally got around to it. So let's get to the main part of this video, which is going to be about the characters. So as you can see, there are now 5 characters in Floors of Discomfort. We got the Knight, which is the main character, and he's the first playable character that you'll be able to use. Note that all these other characters will be locked, and you will have to unlock them through finding each part of them throughout the game. But I'm not going to go over that in this video because I covered it in a previous video. Even though it wasn't extremely in-depth, I did cover that, and I will cover it again in the future when all of that is in place. But we have the Golem here. We have the Skelly Wizard. We have the Thief. And we have the Pumpkin. Now I'm going to go over each character and show you the special abilities that were given to each character, as well as talk about other mechanics that were added to the game to make attacking or fighting and defending yourself a little bit more interesting. So let's get into this. So first you see that the background on this level has actually changed. We've been doing a lot of aesthetic work as well, trying to get the game looking at the best it can be, and changing the backgrounds was one of them. And I'm not going to go to another level besides the first level, but we're working on that. Alright, so if you've been keeping up with the previous videos, you'll notice that there are 2 new icons on the screen. There's these 2 orange buttons on the bottom left here. Now those are the special abilities given to each character, and each character has his own unique abilities. For the Knight, he gets 2 abilities: the Whirlwind and the Vital Energy. The Vital Energy is a passive ability that is activated when the Knight reaches 0 health, and pretty much what happens is that 3 bars of health are restored to him, and he has an increased attack power for forever until he moves on to the next level. So I'm just going to demonstrate the Whirlwind right now. I used that attack is bound to the Z key, and as you can see there, the Knight turns into a tornado and pretty much just wreaks havoc. Another thing that let me try to think about this. How am I going to say this? The fighting in this game was pretty bad before, I'll be honest. As soon as you run into an enemy, you'd lose a health bar, and I was talking to people, I was having them play the game, and they were all saying that's not how it should be, and I agreed with them that that's not how it should be. So I've just done some fixing with the enemy. When the enemy hits you, there's a certain time period in his attack where you will actually lose health instead of just running into the enemy and losing health. Now I don't know if I explained that correctly, but just note that I'm working on making the fighting more realistic, I guess would be the word for that. But that's not really what this video is about. I just thought I'd talk about that for a second. Alright, so I'm going to try to get the vital energy um, ability to work so I can show you that one. And that requires... There we go. Okay, so my attack power has increased, my speed has increased, and I have been given 3 bars of health again. We're back. And this will last until I either die or move on to the next level. But yeah, so that's the knight. Nothing really new with him besides this. And yeah, so I'm going to move on to the next character. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to talk about a mechanic that was added about 15 minutes ago that I think will turn into something interesting. We've added dodging. The enemies, or the players can now dodge. I'm going to pause it for a second. The players can now dodge attacks. They have a 25% dodge rate when they start off, and through the use of items that we will add and other abilities, that dodge chance will increase. And so yeah, so it's not like every time the enemy attacks you, you'll get hit. Now, there's a dodge chance that you will dodge the enemy's attack. Okay, so here's the Golem. He's the second character we're going to go over in this video. And he's pretty much a tank character. He's slow, but he's powerful, and he starts off with 2 more health bars than the rest of the classes. His walking animation is a little strange right now. We're still trying to work that out. But the rest of him is working. And I will go over... I might actually die. But he, like the rest of the characters, have 2 abilities, and they're fire themed. The first being bound to the Z key. Just so you know that the ability on the left here is bound to the Z key, and the ability on the right here is bound to the X key. I'm not going to allow players to bind their own keys. So I'm going to map the keys in a way I feel that they should be mapped, and I'm going to give options to how the player can use those key bindings, because there will be multiple ways to do the same thing. Now, I feel it's just, for a game like this that's simple, that the key should be bound by the programmer, and it should be set that way. And whether you agree with that or not, I don't know, but that's what I'm thinking right now. So here's the first ability. It's pretty much a fireball with a shotgun blast at the end that kills everything to the everything by the character that, or the enemy that was hit. That's pretty cool. It also blows you back a little bit, so if you're in a mess and you need to get out real quick, you can do that ability and you'll get launched out. Now the next ability is the fire trail. What this pretty much does is it plants a fire, I guess you'd call it a bonfire, behind the golem, and that will burn for 15 seconds, and any enemy that comes in contact with it will lose health. And on the first level they will die because the amount of health that's lost is enough to kill them. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for the golem. I'm thinking that he's gonna have to move a little quicker because that's a little too slow. But yeah. So now, since I'm buying crates, I'm going to talk about crates real quick. I've been finding that crates aren't really useful, or they're not as useful as I was hoping they would be. So I've restricted their use. Now, you can no longer pick them up, and they're really only there for breakable items. They'll drop coins or whatever, but other than that, they're just objects on the map. Alright, let's move on to my favorite character, the Skelly Wizard. Now, the Skelly Wizard is a caster. I didn't show, or he wasn't in the previous video. The Golem was in the previous video, but he was in black, and I didn't really talk about it much. But this guy is the first new character that hasn't been shown yet. And like I said, he's a caster. He can only shoot ranged attacks. And he also takes double the damage of the rest of double the damage. He also takes double the damage. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so I'll just demonstrate that. So see, I get hit, I lose 2 bars instead of 1 bar. And that's really because he's the only class that is strictly casting, and he really doesn't have to get close to his enemy, to his opponent, so he doesn't have to. So I felt it was right to give him that con, I guess you will. I guess you'll say, whatever. But yeah, so I guess I'll go over his 2 abilities now. He has a buff, which is on the right here, and like a trap, if you will. It's more like, it's closer to the fire trail that the golem had. So I'm gonna use the tentacles first. And what this essentially does is it puts down this this portal that brings up these tentacles that kill the enemies that run into it. And it lasts 5 seconds, I believe. 5 or 10 seconds, I forget now. And it kills, it does more damage than the fire trail. And that's pretty much it. Now the second one here is a buff that increases the attack speed, attack power of the Skelly Wizard's ranged attacks. Now there is no animation or icon that comes over the head of the Skelly Wizard saying that it is activated yet, because we haven't gotten around to that yet. But I can still demonstrate the attack speed and whatever to show you that it's working. And here we go. So that buff has been activated, and he's moving faster, and he's also attacking stronger. And it wore off. It only lasts a little while. And all of these abilities right now have a 60-second cooldown, which will be altered in the future when I start sorting out how everything is going to be balanced. But right now everything is just 60-second cooldown. So that's it for the Skelly Wizard. Like I said, he's my favorite class because he's a pretty cool guy to play. And I do enjoy casters, so let's move on to the next guy. So here we have the Thief. I've been working on the Thief a lot these last few days because she has an ability to the ability to poison her enemies. And what's interesting about the poison is that when you activate the poison by pressing Z, you don't really know which poison is going to be used on your enemy. There are 3 possibilities, and they're chosen at random when you attack the enemy. There's a weakening poison, and there's a damage over time poison, and there's a paralyzing poison. So I'm going to attack one of these guys here and see which one comes up. Alright, so he was hit with the paralyzing poison. As you can see, those little yellow dots floating around him. That has a 2-minute cooldown. And yeah, so I'm gonna just kill these guys. So yeah, like I said, there's a damage over time, there's a paralyze, and there is a weakening poison. The damage over time pretty much just does obviously damage over time and will most likely kill the enemies on the earlier levels, but not so much on the later levels. The weakening poison doesn't really do what the name says. It really increases your dodge chance for that specific enemy. So he has a less of a chance of hitting you. And Jerry, the designer, or the graphic animation guy, called it the sluggish poison. So yeah, I guess that's more of a fitting name for it, really. Alright, so the second ability given to the thief is the dash ability. And what that does is for 5 seconds, she runs much quicker than she normally would. And that is for 5 seconds, and then has a cooldown for 1 minute. An interesting thing to note about the thief is that her default run speed is much quicker than the rest of the characters. So if you're one of those people that like to get around the map a lot quicker, then she's the one to play. But yeah, other than that, that's it for the thief. My poison came back, so I'm gonna see if I can get another one out of this. Oh, nope, he was paralyzed again. All right. Well, that's that. Let's move on to the pumpkin. Pumpkin is the newest addition to the character list, and he was thought up on Thanksgiving. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, by the way. That was yesterday. He was thought up on Halloween, actually, which makes sense. Kinda. So, yep, here he is. He starts off a little bit quicker than most other characters, and he has a slightly higher attack power than the knight. But what makes the pumpkin unique is his thorn shield ability. So by pressing the X key, for a short period of time, you get a thorn shield around you that makes you invincible to being hit and losing health. And that's unique. That's a unique ability to the characters. He's the only one that really gets that kind of ability, which is interesting. And he's really the last character that you can unlock. All these characters have to be unlocked in order, and there's no way to unlock the later characters without first unlocking the previous characters. So that ability really gives him an edge in certain situations, and he also gets an ability to throw a pumpkin at his enemies, like so. Oh, darn it! Well, you didn't really see that, but so I'm gonna let that recharge and try it again. We've been playing around a lot with the animations for these characters and trying to see what works best. There is a lot of touching up that we still have to do with the animation and really just making it look the best it can be. I am going to scale everything up so that it's easier to see the characters and the enemies, because right now everything is way too small, and I realize that. And I'm waiting till the end when everything is done for me to do that, because I'm in too deep right now with, I guess it'd be a couple days to fix everything to where it needs to be, because everything is static, and I set it at a certain size. All these images are relative to each other in terms of their size, and I have to fix that, and that's going to take a while. So I'm just going to finish everything and then do that, and then hopefully after that we'll be making the sounds, and then we'll release in this game. So yeah, hoping to release by Christmas, but I'm not sure yet. That's the real goal here. Alright, so my pumpkin head has recharged, and I'm going to shoot that now. And there you go. That's the animation for that. I might have to slow that down, I'm not sure. I sped it up because I was thinking it's too slow, but I don't know. Maybe when everything, like I said, I have to scale everything up, so maybe when everything's scaled up, it'll look better. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for this update. looking forward, we have a bunch more items that we're going to be creating. We have elite enemies that are going to be present on each level that are going to drop items and not just coins. We have a mystery crate that is going to be put on each level, and when you find it, you can go over to it and open it up. And inside there will be an item that you can't buy in the shop. But yeah, so development is going well. I'm sorry I didn't get this video out on last weekend when I said I would in my blog post, if you read that blog post, but I got it up. So, yep, until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll be working.